I must thank our sponsors, the Man Group, for providing this wonderful auditorium, and even more for their amazing staff and equipment that allow us to stage this celebration of the best of Asian writing as a dialogue between us here in London and Hong Kong, as you will see. Well, this isn't the moment for acknowledgements, but I couldn't resist saying that we all feel that the Man Group should be congratulated on the foresight and the generosity they've shown in taking up this prize, supporting it from its beginnings to now, where we are routinely regarded, spoken of as the most prestigious literary prize in Asia. Actually, the accolade we treasure most is what the Times of India calls us, which is the Asian Booker. Now, that's very naughty, I know, but it's the accolade which, in some ways, we treasure most. Well, since launching the long list at the Singapore Writers' Festival last October, there's been a tremendous interest in the 12 books selected by the judges who consist of Vikas Swarup, Changray Lee, and of course Razia Iqbal, who is with us here today as the chair of the judges. As you can see on the screen, the announcement of the prize is now an anticipated event on the Asian literary calendar, and I'm sure that at least some of those aforementioned 12 are probably waiting with great, very keen anticipation to hear what's going to happen, perhaps also their publishers and their agents. I can feel them urging us on to get to the business end of this event. So in a moment, Razia will be announcing the shortlist. When that's done, I'm sure some of you will have questions for her. I'm going to go to Hong Kong first for their questions, and then to return here to London for any questions those of you gathered here may have. So without further ado, it's my very great pleasure to invite Razia Iqbal, to the chair of the judging panel, to announce the shortlist of the 2011 Man Asian Literary Prize. Thank you, Razia.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you all very much for coming. Slightly intimidating to have so many of you here, but delightful. And I'm hoping Hong Kong can hear us. Harrison, I'm just assuming that they can. Excellent. Okay, this was not only the most pleasurable thing that I've done in a very, very long time, it was also the most daunting. It really, really was. And I know people use those words with great ease, but and it can sound very cliched, but it really was pleasurable. There is something wonderful about reading sentence after good sentence and feeling that you are becoming changed as a person as a result. And that for me was the most exciting thing about judging this prize. And it was really, really hard, so hard that we have broken with tradition and we have a short list of 7 books as opposed to 6. So I am going to start in alphabetical order. The first on our short list is Jamil Ahmed, The Wandering Balkan. You've all got the shortlist. I'm hoping you've all got the press release by now, so you can read about the books if you haven't read them already. But I urge you, as I name them, write them down, go out and buy them. They're amazing. Rebirth by Janavi Barua. The Sly Company of People Who Care, Rahul Bhattacharya. River of Smoke by Amitav Ghosh. Yan Yankee, Dream of Ding Village. Please Look After Mom, Kyung Suk Shin. And finally, The Lake, Banana Yoshimoto. So that's it. Those are our 7 incredible, really, really beautifully written books. I'm not going to say any more because I'm sure you've got questions. So are we going to go to Hong Kong first?
I think we're going to go to Hong Kong first. So I'm assuming that Hong Kong will come up on the screen. Aha!
Oh, there
they are. And I think they're all lined up. They look as if they have...
So you can see me, right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do. Can you see me?
Yeah, we're waiting
Right,
with breath for your question. I wonder if you would firstly identify yourself and then ask the question. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I am Michael Young. I'm speaking at the main office in Hong Kong now. So we will now take questions from this side. The first question is from Carmen Kwong.
I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, this is Carmen Kwong from Hong Kong Economic Journal and also Books for You magazine. My question is, out of the 12 candidates that you're longlisted, 5 of them I found they are from India. Is there any particular reason?
There was no particular reason for them being on the long list apart from the fact that they were incredibly well-written, very interesting books. And as we all know, anyone who knows anything about literature in Asia, the subcontinent has a very well-established publishing industry, particularly in English. So it's not surprising that quite a lot of this prize, in past years too, has been dominated by books from the subcontinent. But their presence on the long list was entirely because they deserved to be there for literary reasons.
All right, okay, thanks.
You don't sound too convinced.
What do you want me to say?
Follow-up question. Did you have a further question in mind?
Right, so we have another question.
I think there's going to be some difficulty in the delay here. It can't be as fluent as perhaps it might be in this room.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hi, it's Marisha from Peony Literary Agency in Hong Kong. I just wondered, with the submissions that you had this year, what percentage did you have in translation and how many in English? Was it sort of quite an equal balance between the two this year?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that question, actually. I think there were a fair few. I mean, on this list, I think there are 3 or 4 that were submitted in the shortlist rather than the long list that were in translation. But this is unusual as a high literary prize in that there is prize money given to the translator also. So there's a recognition of the translation as well as the original writer.
I think my instinct would be that it's about 70-30. 70 originally written in English and 30% in translation. But that's just a very rough guess. We haven't actually got the numbers on that. Right?
And is that similar to last year? Has that kind of changed since? Is it roughly? I think that's the beauty of your prize, that you have both. You look at both. There are not many prizes that actually do that, I think. Look at works in translation and in English.
Yeah. Well, I think this is one of the things that we're aiming to do, which is to encourage the translation of books not originally written into English, so that they can employ an international audience. So, it would be wonderful to think that more books were being translated. But we don't have any evidence. I guess this is something that we should be doing by now, just gathering the figures to answer a question just like that one.
Well, I mean, just to give you an example, Kyung Suk Shin's book this is the first of her novels that's been translated into English, which is phenomenal given how successful a writer she is in her native Korea, and it's now going to be translated into 19 different languages. So I'm not saying there's a direct relation, but I suspect that it's partly to do with the fact that she is so successful in Korea, and being longlisted for this prize has prompted far more interest.
Well, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Is there any question you would like to ask?
I wonder if I mean, you guys stay with us, and we'll turn to London. And if you've got questions as a result of people asking things here, we'll come back to you.
Sure.
Sure, that would be great.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Homer Qureshi, writing a piece for The Guardian. Can you just describe what the judging process is like and how you actually sit down and read all the books? Do you sit with a cup of tea on your sofa reading, or is it more academic than that?
I read wherever I can, actually. I've got a full-time job at the BBC, so I tend to read on the way into work. I fortunately don't need a lot of sleep. I tend to read. I also have 2 children, so I read from about when I was doing the before we were in the run-up to the long list. I was reading, I guess, most evenings from about 9 till 1 in the morning. And that's because there was a lot to read, and some of these books are very fat. Absolutely, yeah.
How many times will you read them?
Well, I guess between now and March, I probably won't be able to read these ones again more than once, I wouldn't have thought. But that's what I aim to do. I can't speak for my fellow judges. I just hope that Vikas and Changray are listening.
Good. Yes.
Can you give us a bit of a flavour of the discussion process and how contentious it was, and whether you're still friends with the other judges, and whether you expect to remain friends with them after you've announced the winner?
Oh, I hope that we should be friends for a long time. Do you know what? I know. I was an arts correspondent for the BBC for a long time, covering many prizes, including the Booker Prize. And it's a question that journalists ask of judges all the time. You know, how many rows were there? I have to say that in the shortlisting process, we were pretty much unanimous. I wrote to the judges, the other 2 judges, and said, send me your thoughts. I didn't give them any indication of where I was sitting with the 12 books. Just give me 3 or 4 lines for each book and tell me why you want to see it in the shortlist, so that we all had, and neither of them copied the other person in. So I had a real sense, and when I looked at the list, I was just like, wow, that is so completely my list too. So I know it sounds, I don't know, maybe I'm sure there are rows, I'm sure there are, but there weren't in this instance. There were just clear lines. We all felt that we were responding time and again to not just a well-written story, but a story that worked coherently as a novel. So it wasn't just that we were thinking, oh, this is a great story because it illustrates this about this country, or we don't hear much from that country. Every single time we went back to, does this work as a novel? If you picked up any one of these books, would you feel sufficiently compelled to keep turning the page? And by the end of it, feel ever so slightly transformed. I think that was really our kind of gauge.
Can I just add something factual that you may not know? Our judges were on 3 different continents. Changray Lee teaches creative writing at Princeton. Vikas Swara is the Indian Consul General in Osaka, and
is the fastest reader on the planet.
So this necessitated communication via email. Now, I don't know, I mean, email, I know there's a lot been written about email and how email sometimes creates conflicts that are not intended. But maybe in this particular case, there could be some filtering of things said. I don't know whether that's the case. But I don't think in the history of this prize, so far as I know, there have been any significant quarrels among the judges. At least if there have been, they have not admitted it.